Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Churchill Downs here on Saturday. It is the 7th of May, 2022. It's Kentucky Derby Day, and we're going to look at all the stakes races, including the Kentucky Derby. But before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kid 5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and I mean it, around the world. Just some excellent racing coming up in the next few weeks. Of course, Wednesday in the UK, you have the Dante meeting from York, so join me for that. The week after, you have the Preakness from Pimlico, so it doesn't get any better than that. So join me. But today we have the big one here. It's the Kentucky Derby. It's going to be a great race. We'll get to that for later on in the video. But we have quite a few stakes races to look at. Races 5 through 12. Let's get to the action right now, starting off with the fifth race. The fifth race, it's the Churchill Distaff Turf Mile. It's a grade 2 event going for a purse of $500,000. Race for fillies, mares, 4-year-olds, and upwards. 8 horses were originally entered, but the 1 and 3 are probably going to scratch because they're going to run on the Modesty Friday afternoon. So we'll be down to a 6 horses going to the newly renovated Matwin Turf Course, the distance of ground of 1,600 meters, or a mile on the Matwin Turf Course. 1,600 meters, 1 mile here, and I show the diagram. It just gives me a second to look down my notes. Just bear with me. Sorry, I'm stupid. I can't do two things at the same time. My top selection here, we're going to go take the number 7 horse in Italian. Let's go 7-8-4-6 in the superfecta. 7-8-4-6 super. Top selection, 7 horse in Italian. 4-year filly by DeBowie. Chad Brown trains. Iratus Jr. gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the 5th of March at Gulfstream Park, about a mile on the lawn in the Honey Fox Stakes, and the horse won by 1/4 lengths, and the speed was holding up all the afternoon at Gulfstream. And this horse just was on the, driving that day from a wide post stroke, quickened up nicely in the front end. An all-around good race without Lasix for the first time. Coming here probably to a turf course that's going to have a little given. It shouldn't be a problem. When the turf courses are soft, they usually have speed really holds up. I think the horse could really run a good race here today off of the bench. 2 back, the horse ran 12th of January at Tampa, 1 mile in allowance race, 25,000, non-1X. And the horse by 4 1/4 lengths that day. And again, very easy fractions that day. The horse quickened up nicely and got the job done on the front end. An all-around great race. And then nearly a year ago to the day, on the 8th of May at Belmont, mile 16th on a good Widener turf course in main special weight. The horse won by 3 1/4 lengths, and again on the front and all throughout. Very, very pedestrian fractions, but the horse won quite easily. When you go 114 flat to 3/4, if you don't win off of that, there's something wrong with you. But this horse got the main victory there. The debut before that at Tampa in late March of 2021, going mile 16th in the main special weight. The horse finished second by a neck, and sat back early, but really closed up well. Changed the tactics of what this horse was doing afterwards. So this horse was a closer early on, but she showed potential there for that loss. She's training well down in South Florida at Payson and here at Churchill. At 3-1, I think she's loaded. Don't throw out the 8 horse here. Speak of the devil. Flavien Prat gets on this one for Chad Brown. This horse has been running in France for most of her career, coming stateside for the first time. Races in France against those Group 3, Group 1 quality horses. Group 1 horses she wasn't keeping up with, but the Group 3 horses, she was really running these good races. This race would be considered a Group 3 in France, and I think she can keep up with them. She has some forwardly pace. She can handle given the ground. At 2-1, we'll definitely use her in the multis. And the 4-horse Upscon is your wise guy horse. If the old Upscon comes out today, she's going to win this race by a mile. But she hasn't won in quite a while, since 2020 at the earliest. But, she has some hidden form. She always runs these bang-up races. She's going to get blinkers on. She'll be a little bit more forwardly placed. Watch out for her 20-1. I didn't think her race at Keeneland last time out wasn't bad at all. But to recount my selection for the 5th from Churchill, it's the Churchill Distaff Turf Mile. We're going to take the 7 horse in Italian, give kudos to the 8 horse Speak of the Devil, and the 4 horse Upscon, 7-8-4-6 super, 7-8-4 in your multi-race. The 6th race from Churchill. It is the Knicks Go Stakes. It's an overnight stakes going for a purse of $160,000. Races for 4-year-olds and upwards. Not won a great sweepstakes in 2021 or 2022. A dozen horses are going to the main track. The distance of ground here, 1,600 meters, or the distance of ground of 1 mile on the Churchill main track. 1,600 meters, 1 mile here in the Knicks Go. My top selection, we're going to go take here the number, where are we? We're going to go take the number 5 horse Gun It. 5-7-4-11 for me in the superfecta. 5-7-4-11 super. Top selection, 5 horse Gun It. 6-year-old horse by Tappet. Steve Asmussen trains. Luis Saez gets the bounce. The horse's most recent outing came 2nd of April at Oaklawn. 1 mile and optional 100 claimer. And the horse finished 5th by 1 3/4 lengths that day and never really showed up. Never could get the good turn of foot. It wasn't the horse's day to win, but this horse likes a one turn. 7 furlongs to a mile. Coming back to the one turn race for the first time in quite a while. I think this horse should get a good tracking trip, and I think the horse could get the job done. When you look at the one turn race for this horse's, the buyers are up to scratch, so I think that's what the horse wants to do. 2 back at Oaklawn on the 21st of February, 1 mile and optional 80. The horse finished 3rd by 1 3/4 lengths, a little bit wide, closed up a little bit that day, but the winner was just much the best. And then prior to that, on the 16th of July at Saratoga, 7 furlongs optional 80. The horse went by 3/4 in length from a tracking position. This horse quickened up nicely and got the job done very, very easily, earning a 97 buyer. And then most recent race locally on the 6th of June, 1 mile and off 6-2. The horse finished 2nd by a neck. Stalked, had the lead, got caught in the stretch, but didn't go down without a fight. Nothing bad about that race. But, that was a 1 turn, 7 furlongs at Saratoga, 1 turn mile here at Churchill. And then you have to go back to November of 2021, November 2020, off 6-2 here at Churchill, going 1 mile. Finished 2nd by a half length, and again, he just kind of caught late, but he always runs these good races at 1 turn. Come back to it again today at 10-1. We definitely have to use him. Don't throw out the 7 horse South Bend. Joel Rosario's on this one. Most recently, they ran him in the Commonwealth, where the horse just really needed the race there. Before that, I thought he ran a decent place in the behind Fearless on Harlan's Holiday. He likes this track. He's 8-3 on it. Watch out for this horse here, and also watch out for the 4 horse Dream Shake. Last time didn't show a lot of speed at Keeneland, but in other races this horse showed speed. Placed in the Pat Day Mile last year behind Jackie's Warrior, who went on to have a great 2021 campaign. Another horse, since going back to his sprinting trip, not routing, he's really won these better races, sprinting trip. Today, I think of a 1 turn mile as an elongated sprint, not a route race, but when it's around 2 turns, that's a route, but elongated sprint today. I think the horse should really get a good trip here and do wonders for him at 5-2. Definitely using the multis. But to recount my selection for the 6 from Churchill, it's Knicks Go Stakes. Let's take the 5 horse Gun It. We'll give kudos to the 7 horse South Bend and the 4 horse Dream Shake. 5-7-4-11 super, 5-7-4 in the multi race. The 7th race from Churchill, it's the Pat Day Mile. It's grade 2 events going for a purse of $500,000. Race for 3-year-olds here. Another dozen horses going the distance of ground here of 1,600 meters, or the distance of ground of 1 mile on the Churchill main track. 1,600 meters, 1 mile in the Pat Day Mile. Formerly, years ago, known as the Derby trial, usually run years and years ago. I believe it was run Tuesday, the Tuesday before the Derby. In my time, it was always run the Saturday before the Derby. And, you had some decent horses that always would run in it. One horse that comes to mind, Don't Get Mad, he won it, I believe, the week before. Came back to really run a good 4th behind it. I want to say Giacomo in 2005, or, it had to be Giacomo. It's always, I wish they would bring back the Derby trial, even though it had no relevancy in later years to the Derby, except that Don't Get Mad race. My top selection here, I'm going to go with the number 10 horse Doppelganger. Let's go 10-3-5-11 in the superfecta. 10-3-5-11 super. Top selection, 10 horse Doppelganger. 3-year-old caught by Into the Mischief. Tim Yakteen trains. John Velasquez gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came in the Arkansas Derby at Oaklawn, a mile and a half on the 2nd of April, and the horse finished 4th by 8 lengths that day. He had a really troubled trip that day. He was close to lead. He got shuffled in the clubhouse turn, shuffled back down the backstretch. He closed up a little bit late, but it just wasn't anything spectacular. I do think this horse wants to go 1 turn mile. Coming here today from Y Postra it's not ideal, but with a long run to that first turn, I think he could get good position, and I think he could run a better race than he did at Oaklawn last time out, which just wasn't to his liking with the troubled trip. Race before, under the previous care, Bob Baffer came to San Felipe at Santa Anita, mile 16th on the 5th of March, and the horse finished 2nd by 5 1/4 lengths. Again, he didn't break that well, which is sometimes a thing with him. He sat back early, he closed up well, but Forbidden Kingdom really put on a show winning that day. And then before then, the San Vicente at Santa Anita, 7 furlongs, 29th of January. He finished 4th by 2 3/4 lengths. He just, kind of stalked all around the race course and could never quicken up I would have liked to see him sit a little bit closer there, and then the debut at Los Al, 6 furlongs, main special weight in December. He won by 3.5 lengths, closing up from nowhere after a horrible beginning. He won for fun. That was a very good run. He's really been on the improve with every single race. Coming here, 1 turn mile, which I think you should like. Training well at Santita at 6-1. We're going to use him. You also have to use the 3 horse here, Papa Cop. This 3-year-old colt by Gunrunner. Mark Cassidy trains. Flavian Pratt gets mount. He was on the Derby Trail from the fall to early spring, basically. Then they took him off after that disappointing Florida Derby, where he finished 4th. But he's another horse. I think 1 turn mile should suit him well. His 2-year-old races, he won the best pals at Del Mar last summer. Came back to an okay 4th in the Del Mar Futurity. A good place in the Breeders' Cup. Juvenile and the American Pharaoh, and then a decent 3rd in Lecomte. But when the distances got a little longer, that's when you started seeing the horse kind of crumble. He had some good stamina under him so far this season, with a step down in class, back to a 1 turn mile. I think that's what he wants to do, and I think he could really win a good race. 6-1, we're going to use him, along with the 5-horse Jack Christopher. 3-year colt by Munnings. Chad Brown trains. Jose Ortiz gets the mount. Supposed to run in last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile, but he was scratched out of it, so hasn't been seen since the Champagne, where he posted a triple-digit buyer in the victory. A 102 buyer, winning by 2.25 lengths from a tracking position. He really put on a show there. Won the debut at Saratoga, going 3/4 in main special weight easily by 8.75 lengths. Again, an all-around clear victory. Coming here today, he's going to have a very tough race. 2-1's a little bit short for my liking, but if he could show a quarter of what he did in the Champagne in his debut, he could definitely win against these horses. But he's facing a lot of horses that have a lot of more stamina under their belt for running so far this year. He hasn't been seen in almost 8 months, so he's gonna have a lot. He's behind the A ball here. Let's see how fresh he is. He might need the race. Maybe next time out in the Woody Stevens, you bet him. But here at 2-1, I think it's too short for me for this race. I would like to see him get a race under his belt, but they've been behind the A ball with the training a little bit recently with him. But like I said, if he is 100% cranked, he could win this race by a country mile. But like I said, I think he might need the race next start out. I would bet him. In fact, I would probably run him next week in the Peter Pan, not this race. Peter Pan might be a better, lighter spot for him. But we'll use him on the ticket as insurance. But I would go other ways with him. But to recap my selection for the 7 from Churchill, it's the Pat Day Mile. We're going to take the 10-horse Doppelganger as a top selection. We'll give kudos to the 3-horse Papa Cap and the 5-horse Jack Christopher. 10-3. 5-11 Super, 10-3-5 in the multi-race. The 8th race from Churchill, it's the Derby City Distaff. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse of $750,000. Race for fillies, mares, 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 8 horses going to the main track. The distance of ground here of 1,400 meters, with a distance of ground of 7 furlongs on the Churchill main track. 1,400 meters, 7 furlongs in the Derby City Distaff. What was this race? This was the Humana Distaff years ago, I think, right? But my top selection, I'm going to go with the 5-horse Obligatory. Let's go 5-1-6-2 in the superfecta. 5-1-6-2 Super, top selection of 5-horse Obligatory. 4-year-old filly by Curlin. Bill Mont trains. Jose Ortiz gets the mount. The horse's seasonal reappearance came on the 12th of March at Gulfstream. A good main track, 6.5 furlongs in the Hurricane Birdie Stakes, and the horse won by 3 lengths. And from a tracking position, this horse is a little bit wide, but she really got a good final quarter that day. She quickened up nicely and got the job done, earning a 95 buyer. That was a very good return to the races. Coming here second off the bench, back to Churchill where she likes running. I think she can improve off that last race. 2 back in the Chaluki here at Churchill, 1 mile on the 20th of November. She won by 2.25 lengths, and again, coming from nowhere that day, she was a little bit wide, but she got the job done. A perfectly timed ride by Rosario, and then before that, in the Raven Run at Keeneland, 7 furlongs on the 23rd of October. The horse finished 6th by 7.25 lengths that day. At a very wide poster, was very wide throughout, and just never really showed up. Maybe didn't like the Keeneland surface. Before that, in the Cotillion over the mile 16th, she's not a 2-turn horse. She placed that day, but she just wasn't getting the trip. And then in the test, she really lost all chance at the beginning where she didn't break that well. But if you look at her early 2021 campaign, she placed in the Acorn, won the 8 bells over this distance last year on Oaks Day. And, the Fairgrounds Oaks, not two turn horse, just wasn't keeping up there. But broke the main at Goldstream very, very easily over 1 turn mile. Coming here today at 7-2, training well, a very likely winner. The one horse is your second likeliest winner, Lady Rocket. This 5-year-old mare by Tail the Cat, Brad Cox trains. Ira Ortiz Jr. gets the mount. Most recently in the Madison, the horse needed the race, finished fourth by 5 1/4 lengths, was on the front end early on, but then just kind of hit the wall, just a little bit too fast. Slowing it down today back to Churchill. She could really run a good race. Before then, the Go for One handicap, she put on a showing on the 4th of December at Aqueduct going a mile. She won by 9 on the front end all throughout. She could have won by more, but earning a triple-digit 107 buyer. That was a freakish performance there. And then before then, the Pumpkin Pie at Belmont on the slop, 7 furlongs, winning by a head. She was dueling that day. She got the job done. A little bit tired late, but it was still a really good run for her there. And then she placed behind Bella Sofina and the Gallant Bloom at Belmont, and won the pink ribbon before that church at Charlestown, going 7/8 very easily on the bull ring. She has a lot of speed in her. If the speed really holds up, she could get the job done from the rail at 5-1. Definitely use in your all stakes pick 5 that begins with this race. But to recount my selection for the 8th from Churchill, it's the Derby City Distaff. Let's take the 5 horse obligatory. Give kudos to the 1 horse, Lady Rocket. 5-1-6-2 Super. 5-1 in the multi race. Let's get to the 9th event. The 9th race from Churchill, it is the American Turf. It's a grade 2 event going for a purse of $500,000. Races for 3-year-olds here. We have a field of 11 horses stepping onto the turf course. The distance of ground here of 1,700 meters, or the distance of ground of a mile and 1/16 on the Matt Winn turf course. 1,700 meters, a mile 1/16 here in the American Turf. My top selection, we're going to go take the number, We're going to go take the number 7 horse, Dog. We'll go 7-6-9-10 in the superfecta. 7-6-9-10 super. Top selection of 7 horse, Dog. This 3-year-old colt by Slumber. Grand Motion trains. Ira Ortiz Jr. gets to mount. The horse's most recent outing came the 8th of April at Keeneland. Mile 16th in the grade 3 Transylvania. And the horse won by 3/4 in length that day. He sat back early. He's a horse that doesn't have a lot of speed early on, but he sat back early. Slowly moved his way up. He was a little bit wide at the top of the lane, but he got the job done, closing up well. An all-around good return to the races there. His buyer numbers have really been strong. Coming here, facing some tough horses. I think with the great buyer numbers, he could definitely keep up with these horses and get a good trip to win here today. 2 back in the Central Park at Aqueduct, mile 16th and 27th of November. He won by a nose that day, and again, he sat back early, was stupidly wide, and took good advantage of a little bit of a long stretch at Aqueduct to get the job done. He got there in nick of time. I thought it was a very good game victory from there. And then the debut in late October at Belmont, 7 furlongs on the Widener turf course in Maine Specialway for 90,000. He won by 4. Again, horrible beginning that day, stupidly wide. But when he won by when he won by 4 lengths, after all said and done, that was a very good run. Coming here today off some great races, training well at Fair Hills and at Keeneland on the turf, I think he could really run a good race. We're going to take him here. You also have to use a 6-horse portfolio company. 3-year-old colt by Kitten's Joy. Chad Brown trains. Joel Rosario gets the mount. Most recently, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile turf at Del Mar mile on the 5th of November. He had a trouble trip. He finished 8th by 5 3/4 lengths. He was with them early on, but then just kind of crumbled. The closers got to him. Before that, placed in the Pilgrim, where he just couldn't keep up late, and then placed in the With Anticipation. He has to slow it down on the front end. If he slows it down, he can win. His buyers are up to scratch. He's a fast horse. If the speed really holds up, it wouldn't surprise me if he wires the field here today. At 9-2, we're going to use him. And I think you also have to use the 9-horse Stolen Base. Mike Maker turns 1-5 and Pratt gets the mount. They took him to the Jeff Ruby Stakes most recently on the Tapeta Turfway going a mile and 8th, where he finished 7 by 10 1/4 lengths that day, and he had a very troubled trip from the back of the pack. Before that, he won the John Battaglia very nicely at Turfway and finished 3rd in the Texas Turf Mile Turfway. He's a deep closer. If he has a good wide trip, it wouldn't surprise me if the closers get the job done. He's probably your best closer to get the job done. At 12-1, we'll definitely use in the multis. But to recount my selection for the 9th from Churchill, it's the American Turf. Let's take the 7-horse Dog as a top selection. Give kudos to the 6-horse portfolio company and the 9-horse Stolen Base. 7-6-9-10 Super. 7-6-9 in your multi-race. The 10th race from Churchill, it's the Churchill Down Stakes. It's a grade 1 event going for a purse $750,000. Race for 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a very good field of 8 horses going to the main track. The distance of ground 1,400 meters, or 7 furlongs here in the Churchill Down Stakes. 1,400 meters, 7 furlongs. My top selection, I'm going to go take the number 5 horse here, Reinvestment Risk. Let's go 5317 in the superfecta. 5317 super, top selection of 5 horse, Reinvestment Risk. 4-year-old colt by upstart, Chad Brown trains. Iridates Jr. gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came in the Carter Handicap at Aqueduct, 7 furlongs on 9th of April, a race that came out very strong this year. Last year came out really crap, the Carter Handicap, to tell you the truth, but this year that's a great grade 1. And he finished second by 4.5 lengths behind Speaker's Corner, who freaked, who had a great winter at Gulfstream. Came back north to Aqueduct to put on a show in the Carter. This horse just kind of stalked and really couldn't keep up with Speaker's Corner, who, like I said, really freaked. Coming here today, a little bit more weight on his back, off of a very tough race, facing some tough horses again. I think with his buyers, he can really keep up with these horses. He posted a 104 for that place in the Carter most recently. 2 back in optional 25 at Gulfstream, 6.5 furlongs, 26th February. His return to the races, he won by 3 lengths, and from a track position, he quickened up nicely and got the job done. A career best 103 buyer. He was cranked to go there. And then prior to that, his only start as a 3-year-old came on the 3rd of June at Belmont. 6.5 furlongs, good main track, and allowance race 85,000. He finished third by 9 lengths. He just stalked and absolutely had nothing. It wasn't his day to win. Something must have won a miss because you didn't see him after that. And then prior to that, he ran the Breeze Cup Juvenile of 2020 at Keelan over the mile 16th, where he finished 10th by 13 lengths. And again, just had nothing. I don't like him around a 2-turn. I do think a 1-turn 7 furlongs is what he really wants. He placed in the Champagne behind Jackie's Warrior as a 2-year-old, and placed in the Hopeful behind Jackie's Warrior as a 2-year-old. I broke the main at Saratoga very easily as a 2-year-old. I remember watching that race very vividly, and and just keeping an eye on him because he really put on a show in his main victory. He's only won twice, but he always runs these good races. He's training well. I'm going to give him a shot here today at 7-2. The 3-horse Jackie's Warrior is your wise guy horse. Most recent race, he did win the Count Fleet Sprint at Oakland easily. He did win, but he should have showed a little bit more. Wasn't the normal Jackie's Warrior victory we've seen. Before that in the Breeze Cup Sprint, this horse completely crumbled on the pace that day. Hit the wall. It just wasn't the day to win. But before that, won the Gallop Bob at Parks very easily. Won the Allen Jerkins, won the Amsterdam, and then placed in the Woody Stevens and won the Pat Day Mile. I do think the horse's better trip is at 6. Come the 7 does scare me a little bit. Can win off ability, but I have question marks with him in this race today. The 1-horse Aloha West, went under the radar in late 2021. Came to win the Breeze Cup Sprint very nicely, closing up from nowhere at 11.5 to 1. Before that, placed in the Phoenix, closing up from nowhere. And went at Saratoga, posted a 102 buyer at Saratoga, a 100 in the Phoenix in that defeat, and then 100 buyer in the Breeze Cup Sprint. So it's a fast horse here. If there's a closer going to be winning, it could be him at 7-2. And don't throw out also, it's very wide open Churchill's race. The 7-horse Mind Control, finished third in the Carter, where the horse just couldn't get there late. But before that, won the Parks Dirt Mile around 2 turns, and won the John Nehrude at Belmont last season. He ran this race last year, where he just never really got going. But he should see a good pace from a track position. It wouldn't surprise me if he also wins at 5-1. I definitely use in your multis. But to recap my selection for the 10th from Churchill, it's the Churchill Down Stakes. We're going to take as a top selection of 5-horse Reinvestment Risk. We'll go 5-3-1-7 Super. I think you want to go a little deep in this one, so I would use all 4 of them in this late pick 4. To the 11th race now from Churchill. It's the featured turf event of the afternoon. It is the Old Forester Bourbon Turf Classic. It's a grade 1 event going for a purse of $1 million, race for 4-year-olds and upwards. Field of 10 horses going to the Mountwin Turf Course. The distance of ground here of 1,800 meters, or the distance of ground of 1 1/8 on the Mountwin Turf Course. 1,800 meters, 1 1/8 here in the Turf Classic. My top selection, we're going to go take the number 10 horse. The 10 horse who is Santon will go 10-1-3-6 in the superfecta. 10-1-3-6 super, top selection 10 horse Santon. This 4-year-old colt by Distorted Humor. Brendan Walsh trains. Kyler Gaffleon gets on this one for Godolphin. The horse's most recent outing came in the Muniz Memorial at the Fairgrounds, mile 8th on the Stall Wilson Turf Course on the 26th of March, and the horse finished second by 2 1/4 lengths. He just stalked that day all the way around the race course. The winner 2M is really found some hidden form to finally win again that day. This horse just placed behind him and just couldn't get there late. He's a little bit close, but no cigar. But I do like that they had him sit a little closer to the pace. He's going to have blinkers on today from wide post row. Hopefully, again, going a little closer to the front end. I think he can run a good race. 2 back at the Fairgrounds Stakes at the Fairgrounds about a mile late on the 19th of February. He finished 4th by a half length. Coming from mid-pack that day, he was a little bit wide, had the lead for a split portion, but then just couldn't keep up. But again, he ran his heart out there, a 96 spire, and there was nothing to cry about that race. And then before then, the Hollywood Derby at Del Mar, a mile on the 8th and the 27th of November. I backed him that day at 17-1, and he almost gave me a heart attack if he would have won. But he finished second by a neck. He was drawn 14 of 14 that day. He had a stupidly wide trip. He really closed up well, just a little bit too late, but he ran his heart out. He ran the best you could run from post 14 on the turf, going a mile and 8th at Del Mar, which is impossible at times to win at. But, not a bad race at all for him there. And then before that, an allowance race at Keeneland, going a mile on the 23rd of October, winning by 1/4 lengths, a little bit wide, but coming from behind, a very good victory. And then one before that at Indiana on the turf, very, very easily, after a little bit of a troubled trip early on from a troubled start early on, but he's training well on the turf course here at Churchill, training well in the dirt at Keeneland. At 6-1, watch out for him. You also have to watch out for the one-horse Ivar. It seemed like everybody was backing him in the Breeders' Cup last time out, but he went off at 24-1, but he finished 3rd by 1/2 length, closing up from nowhere from a stupidly wide poster. A better poster probably would have, made the race very interesting for Space Blues late, but nothing bad about that race. Before that, in the Keeneland Turf Mile, he had a very troubled trip. And then he ran this Turf Classic last year where he just never really got going. But he has a better poster here today from the inside, just a little closer. At 4-1, watch out for Ivar because he has some very good hidden form. His buyers are really, good here. He has quite a few triple-digit buyers in this on this side of the pond, or here in North America. And also the 3-horse public sector. His buyers might not be up to scratch, but he always runs these good races. He ran a decent 4th place finish in the Hollywood Derby, where he had a very troubled trip that day. But won the Hill Prince before that and won the Saranac before that. Maybe wants to go a mile in the future, but I'll take him here at mile and 8th at 5-1. We'll use him in the late pick 4. But to recap my selection for the 11th from Churchill, it's the Grade 1 $1 Million Turf Classic. We're going to take the 10-horse Santon as a top selection. We'll give kudos to the 1-horse Ivar in the 3-horse public sector. 10-1-3-6 Super. 10-1-3 in the multi-race. Let's get to the featured 12th race from Churchill. The 12th race from Churchill, it is the Kentucky Derby presented by Woodford Reserve. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse of $3 million. This race is for 3-year-olds here. We have 22 horses entered, but keep in mind we have a few scratches here. The 20-horse Ethereal Road will be withdrawn, and the 22-horse Rattle and Roll will also be withdrawn or scratched. So the 21-horse Rich Strike will draw in and break from post position number 20. They're going the distance of ground, the classic distance of ground here of 2,000 meters, if you want to go by that, or the distance of ground of 1.25 miles on the Churchill main track. 2,000 meters, 1.25 miles here in the Kentucky Derby. And it's a very good race this year. As a top selection, I'm going to go take the 6-horse Messier. I'm going to go 6-3-8-10 in the superfecta. That's going to be my straight superfecta. 6-3-8-10 super. Top selection of 6-horse Messier. This 3-year-old colt by Empire Maker. Tim Yakteen trains. John Velazquez gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came in the Santa Anita Derby at Santa Anita Park, 1.8 miles on the 9th of April. And the horse finished second by 2.25 lengths. Tabia really just ran a terrific race from his track position. Quickened up nicely and got the job done. This horse just, he's a very big muscular horse. Takes him a little time to get going. He stalked. He had a lead. Tabia just got by him that day. But he's the kind of horse, he wants a little bit of a longer trip. I don't think he needs to lead, but I think he'll sit a little closer today, which I think will be ideal. Not so much, there's going to be pace, but there's not going to be so much pace. I think from a track position where he's going to come from with a good post run, I think he can really get a good trip here today. 2 back in the Bob Lewis at Santita, mile 16, the 6th of February. He ran the best race of his life that day. He won by 15 lengths on the front end all the route, earning a 103 buyer. He just put on a show, a very, very good, easy victory from there. And then before that, in the Los Al Futurity at Los Alamitos, a mile 16th and 11th of December. He finished second by a length behind Slow Down Andy. He stalked, he had lead, and then he just couldn't keep up. It looked like when he got to the front end, he just kind of like, nope, I don't want to win. Let the other horse win. And he just had to, he got to himself that day. And then before then, the Bob Hope at Del Mar, 7 furlongs, 14th of November, first time facing winners, first time stakes quality horses. He only 3 other rivals that day, but he won by 3.5 lengths from a tracking position. He quickened up nicely and got the job done. And then the maiden victory at Santita, 6 furlongs, winning by 6.25 lengths from a tracking position. Another easy race there. He debuted at Los Al late last summer, going 5/8 in the maiden special weight, where he finished second by length. And he stalked. He was drifting in and out. He was very, very lackadaisical that day. But I think this Ontario bred with a longer trip should get better. He's the kind of horse right now. If you get future wagering for the Queen's Plate, you bet him there also, because since he's eligible for that race at Woodbine, he should really put on a show there also. But coming here to a mile and a quarter with a very good poster, training well, very good muscular horse at 8-1. I think he's loaded. The 3-horse Epicenter is your second likeliest winner. 3-year-old colt by Not This Time. Steve Asmussen trains. Joel Rosario gets him out. Asmussen looking for his first Derby victory. Rosario, I believe he's looking for his second Derby victory. The most recent outing for this horse came to the fairgrounds, a mile 3/16 in Louisiana Derby, and the horse won by 2.5 lengths. And from the inside that day, this horse stalked, he got the lead, and then just put on a show. He really ran like a winner that day. Before that, won the Risen Star easily, and then the Lecomte, the horse finished second by head. He got into a pace duel early on, which cost him very quick to that first quarter and a half. He just couldn't keep up late. It wasn't his day to win, but when the gun runner before that, he likes running here. His main victory in November wasn't half bad. He has some forwardly pace. He's drawn well, training well. At 7-2, his buyer's up to scratch. I think he's another horse you have to keep an eye on. You also have to keep an eye on here the 8-horse Charge It. 3-year-old colt by Tap It. Todd Pletcher trains. Luis Saez gets them out. I thought he's out of all the horses in the Florida Derby, he's the one I like a lot coming into the Derby today. He has a major excuse. He hit the gate going out of in the Florida Derby at Gulfstream, going a mile and 8th. He finished second by 1/4 lengths. He hit the gate that day. He lugged in, a little lackadaisical in the stretch. But for him to just finish second by 1/4 lengths after all said and done, I thought it was a decent event. Hopefully breaking a little bit better, concentrating on the run. He's drawn well. Definitely should get him on a quarter. I think he's on the up and up, and I think he should really run a good race. Before that, in main special weight, Gulfstream 1 mile on the 12th of February. He won by 8.5 lengths, and on the front end all throughout, he put on a show there. And then the debut at Gulfstream 1 mile on the 8th of January in the main special weight, he finished second by a neck, and he was dueling that day. He just couldn't keep the trip late, but he still ran his heart out. He's another horse training well. If he doesn't win today, he's going to have a bright future ahead of him. Watch out for him at 20-1. And the 10-horse Zandon. Deep closers don't have the best advantage in the Derby, because they usually go. You need a good pace in the race, and he really needs good pace in the race to win here today, which you haven't seen in quite a while for a deep closure win the Derby. Usually the Derby winners are a little bit closer to the front end, but he won the Bluegrass circling the field from a wide trip, winning by 2.25 lengths, earning an 98 buyer. Before then, the Risen Star, he needed the race. He finished third by 3.25 lengths. He didn't break that well. It was a little bit wide, and just need the race there. And then before that, he placed him to Remsen, really closing up from nowhere. If he wasn't stupidly wide, he probably would have won, but Monautical just had a little bit of better trip than him, but broke the main before that at Belmont very nicely. He's another horse. He should definitely get the trip, but he's gonna need a good pace in front to win. He's definitely a horse you use in your supers and super high fives there and trifectas, but like I said, good horse. We'll talk about some of the other horses here. The one horse, Modonical, he's the kind of horse I would bet in the Belmont. Just here today, he's going to have to get a good trip on the inside post, right? Even with the new gate, they have the full 20-horse gate, not with the auxiliary gate. So there's a little extra room on the inside for him. But still, I don't like the poster for him. He's going to have to, get a good trip to close up well. And, he's just not a use for me here today. Like I said, a mile and a half in a few weeks is where I would bet him. Of course, we all know Todd Pletcher's record in the Belmont very good, but I do like his Wood Memorial victory closing up from nowhere, and his Remsen victory. But can he show that at Churchill? The 2-horse Happy Jack, he would have to jump up quite a few Buyer points to win. I just don't think he's fast enough to beat these horses. We already talked about Epicenter. The 4-horse Summers tomorrow. His best chance is to go to the front end and be the main speed. He had a lot of speed in the UAE, so he's probably going to go to the front end and see how long the pace could hold up. It wouldn't surprise me if they quarter horse him and set some, really very very fast fractions as a kind of rabbit, but rabbit for the other horses. But he would, like I said, he would have to really get a lot of luck on his side to win. I just don't think he can keep up with these horses. They're a lot classier. The 5-horse Smile Happy, I would use him underneath the 3rd, 4th, 5th, somewhere there for the super or the super high 5. I do like his bluegrass place that day, but he'll have to have a very good trip to win. We already talked about Messier. The 7-horse Crown Pride, everybody's been talking about the training tactics for him. The Japanese horses have been running good at the international level the last year or so, but he's another horse. I think he would have to really, get a good trip, and I just don't think he's fast enough to keep up with these horses. We already talked about Charge It. The 9-horse Tiz the Bomb, he's going to get a lot of dirt in his face. He proved at Goldstrom he doesn't like the dirt in his face, and, I don't think he's going to get very close to the front end here, and, he's a horse, I think his better races will come on turf later on, just in the Kentucky Derby. Not a use for me. We already talked about Zanda on the 10-horse. We'll head over to the 11-horse Pioneer of Medina. Tom Pletcher trains this one. Joe Bravo gets the mounts. He ran okay in the Louisiana Derby and okay in the Risen Star, but he's another horse. He would have to really get a really, really good trip. 31's not bad price on him, but I think there are slightly classier horses than him. Maybe 4th, 5th, I would use him there just for the victory. You have to have a very good trip. Now the 12-horse Tabia. This 3-year-old colt by Gunrunner. They only built this horse $1.7 million. Mike Smith gets on this one. Very, very lightly raced. The owners wanted to run him in the Santino Derby. They ran him there and he won. They might be asking just a little bit too much too soon for him. He's going to face so many tougher horses, than he's faced ever in his life. And, he's just, there's a lot of question marks. I think he's just, he's too new to the game to, in my eyes, to win the Derby. Later on, I would bet him, if they would have skipped this race and run him in the Preakness, I probably would have bet him in the Preakness. He'd probably win that quite easily. But here today, he's going to have a lot of challenges to overcome, and I think he's just a little bit too lightly raced for me to really back him. Maybe a 5th I would put him in, but just not a horse I would bet. 13-horse Simplification for Antonio Sano and Jose Ortiz. He won the Fountain of Youth closing up wide that day because the race was marked from a spill at the quarter pole. He's another horse. He'll need to have a good trip, maybe 4th or 5th, but and again, he has to jump up quite a few buyer points, and I don't think he's fast enough to beat these horses. Barber Road, another horse, he always runs these good closing up races. He might be that wise guy horse that gets the place in the Derby or the something like that, but to win it, another horse, he really needs to quicken up a lot and get a good trip. But definitely a horse for that super high 5 for the weird kind of results. The 15-horse Weird Barrio, I think he's had a lot of good trips, which has been to his advantage. Breaking from Bose 15 with 19 other rivals is going to be a very hard challenge for him. He had a very easy race in that Florida Derby and a very easy race in the Holy Bowl, but then his races here in the Kentucky Jockey Club, he really couldn't keep up with them. He's going to see the toughest competition, a 10-1. I prefer Charge It out of that Florida Derby. Him, I can't back him because, like I said, everything went his own way. He's not gonna. You don't get your own way in the Derby. The other horses make your results. The 16-horse Cyberknife. The Arkansas races haven't been the strongest this winter, and he did win the Arkansas Derby, but he would still have to jump up quite a few buyer points to win. He's not a use for me here in the multis. The 17-horse Classic Causeway, after that Florida Derby mishap, they were going to skip the Derby, but because the owners wanted to run the Derby, they're running him here today, which I don't like. If the owners are dictating, what the horse wants to do, that means they want to go to the Derby, and the horse really doesn't. If he would have ran a result like the Tampa Bay Derby right before this race, he would have a strong chance, but you just might see a very tired horse. I don't like the comments from Brian Lynch before the race this week about the horse. He keeps saying the owners wanted to run here. That means I have a feeling that means he doesn't have a lot of confidence in the horse. Just not a use for me here. The 18 horse Tawny Port. Another horse is going to have to quicken up quite a bit. Very wide poster, not going to be to his liking. He's just not a horse for me I could really get behind. The 19 horse Zozos, very lightly raced. Another horse, if he doesn't win today, I would keep an eye on him for the Belmont. I think he should definitely get that trip, but he's going to have a lot to do to overcome that wide poster. Might have to be used a lot early to get over, which might cost him late. Not a use for me. I believe the 20 horse is scratched. The 21 horse Rich Strike. This horse will really definitely have to quicken up a lot. It doesn't have a lot of forwardly pace, and this is just one of those horses I can't get behind. Wouldn't surprise me if he goes off at triple-digit odds at the post draw. Unless the only way he wins is basically if you see a mind that bird kind of Derby victory, closing up from nowhere. But I can't take him here. His races have been very, very subpar for me. But to recap my selections now for the 12th race from Churchill. It's the Grade 1 $3 million Kentucky Derby. As a top selection, we'll take the 6 horse Messier. We'll give kudos to the 3 horse Epicenter, the 8 horse Charger, and the 10 horse Zandon. 6, 3, 8, 10 Super. We're going to go 6, 3, 8, 10 in the Superfecta. We're going to do a $10 exacta 6, 3, and we'll do try key here, or try box 6, 3, 8, 10, and of course we'll do the supers and the multi-race 6, 3, 8, 10 there. But I love Messier. Like I said, your second likeliest winner is Epicenter, and it wouldn't surprise me if Charge it wins, but he might need the race. Wait for the Belmont for him maybe. But so with that being said, good luck to all. Please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKit5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and join me in 2 weeks for my Preakness preview from Pimlico. Good luck, everybody.